කරන්නට ආරාධනා කරනවා. මොකද අපි විතරක් නෙවෙයි වහන්සේටත් මේ බණ කියන විදිය ඒ වගේම බණ දේශනා කරන ක්‍රමය පුරුදු කරනවා. උන්වහන්සේ මේ වෙලාවේදී පොඩි දේශනයක් කරනවා. At this time I would like to invite our Venerable Sanatha Vihari Amdurvo to deliver a short Dhamma talk.
First of all, thank you, Bhante, for this opportunity to speak, and with your permission and the permission of the others and your monks, I'd like to give a short Dhamma talk. So, Bhante, I think you talked about the Vibhangasutta, right? Yes. So this I'm going to talk about another sutta that just happens to have the same word in it. For the title is called the MaggaVibhangasutta in the Samyutta Nikaya. Magga is path, right? And Vibhanga is like analysis or something. So I'm analyzing the path. Well, what path are we going to be analyzing? We're going to be analyzing the Noble Eightfold Path, which is the fourth Noble Truth, right? If we want to reach Nibbana, we have to understand the Noble Eightfold Path. And one of the most important things to realize about Buddhism is that it's not something that you just believe in, right? The Buddha always asked everyone and asked us today to practice, right? So it's something that we need to practice. So I'm gonna use this kind of a vehicle or perspective on the Noble Eightfold Path, the practical applications, how you can use it as a layperson in everyday life. So it's not just something, the last 3 steps are not just something that are for monks or for people who go on retreats. These are really things you can apply in your everyday life. So the MaggaVibhangasutta in the Samyutta Nikaya starts off with what the Noble Eightfold Path always starts off with is normally translated as right understanding. Right? Well, I prefer not to use right, because if we're right, that means other people are wrong. And that's not very harmonious or not very nice. The Buddha said he never comes in conflict with others. It is others that come in conflict with him. So I don't think right's the right way to, the right term to use, because it will come in conflict with others, and the Buddha said that he does not come in conflict with others. So we can use wholesome or harmonious. So I'll use wholesome. So we can use wholesome view. What is wholesome view? Understanding the 4 Noble Truths, right? First Noble Truth is there is suffering in the world. Not that, your whole entire life is suffering, because you've had some good times, right? So everything's not suffering. So there is suffering in the world. What is suffering? Well, the things that happen to us in life, the process of life itself, like being born is suffering. Mothers know. Things that we experience in life that are suffering, the Buddha says, first we have to acknowledge that there is things in the world that make us suffer. The world, our life is not a bunch of rainbows and roses and smiley faces. And the second one is that the cause of this suffering is this desire or craving. We keep attaching to these experiences in this life, and we keep personalizing all these experiences and emotions and thoughts, saying that it's mine. We want to possess things. We want things to endure. We want things to last. We want things to become ours, but we can't hold on to anything because nothing belongs to us. All things are always in change. They're impermanent. So we'll suffer because of this desire to try to hold on to things that are impermanent. So the source of it is this craving. But it's not all bad news, They didn't call the Buddha for no reason, right? He woke up. He found out that there was a cure to this problem of suffering that was caused by craving. And that cure is the Noble Eightfold Path. So the third Noble Truth is that there is a cure, the cessation of suffering. And the fourth one is the Noble Eightfold Path. And this is basically the first step. If you understand these things, then you have wholesome view. Second one, wholesome intention. Wholesome intention is that intention that doesn't cause harm to yourself, causes harm to others, and causes harm to yourself and others. Right? So don't have intentions that hurt other people, hurt yourself, or hurt other people and yourself. So basically an intention that doesn't come in conflict with anyone else, that doesn't hurt anyone else. an intention that is constructive, an intention that helps develop yourself, helps in the cultivation and development of others. So that's right intention. Any kind of intention that is constructive and positive, that's right intention. Then the next two parts is wholesome speech and wholesome action. Well, these two you should already be very familiar with, because earlier today you took Panchasila, right? So you refrain from harming living beings, which would fall under action, right? You refrain from stealing or robbing, which would fall under action. You refrain from sexual misconduct, which would fall under action. Then you refrain from lying, using harsh speech, dividing people, gossip, which would fall under harmonious speech. And then livelihood. Livelihood means you have a job or a career or a hobby that is conducive, that aligns with and is complementary to the 5 precepts. So I said a lot of things right there, right? About right speech, right livelihood, and right action. The simple way to remember it is that speech and action and livelihood that does not hurt you, does not hurt others, and does not hurt you and others. So any kind of speech, action, or livelihood that doesn't fall into one of these categories would be considered wholesome speech, wholesome action, wholesome livelihood. The next step that we're going to take is to, now we get into like what we call bhavana, right? We have to bhavana. Many people think bhavana is just, sitting under a tree or hiding out in some kuti and crossing your legs and closing your eyes and hoping for the best. Right? But no, right? If that was it, then lay people wouldn't be able to practice, right? Because you're very busy. You got things to do in this life. So bhavana, fortunately, is not limited to going hiding somewhere. We can see it right now, and we can see it in this example when the Buddha gives us of wholesome effort. What is wholesome effort? So there's 4 parts to this wholesome effort. It's very technically written, but I'll give you a paraphrase, a very simple version for you to remember. Okay. The first one the Buddha says is samvara. Then he says pahana. Then he says bhavana. Then he says anurakana. So samvara means like to protect yourself, or not to prevent things from happening. But in this case, I'll stick to the word like prevention. But it has more of a meaning like of guarding yourself, guarding your senses, or guarding your mind from things happening. But I'll use the word prevention. So right effort is that effort to begin with that you take in order to prevent from unwholesome states arising. So you have to be proactive, right? You have to be proactive in your life. You don't want to go to where they're stealing, where they're robbing, where they're cheating, where they're doing drugs. You want to avoid those places. You want to avoid those people, right? In the same way, you want to avoid those kinds of emotions. You want to avoid emotions that are unwholesome. They cause you pain, they cause you suffering, they cause anger, they cause sadness, they cause greed. That's the first step, right? Prevention. Guard yourself from these things. That's the first thing you have to do in right effort. Second one is elimination. We can't protect ourselves from everything. This world has so many things going on, it's impossible. Something bad's going to happen to you. Eventually you're going to get angry or sad, or you're going to desire something. And that's okay. Because the second part is acknowledge it and then try to remove it, right? Get rid of it. We get rid of this unwholesome, greedful thought or situation that you're in. You might be thinking, well, that's obvious, Bhante. I just can't get rid of these things. They come up. Well, no problem. The Buddha gives you a solution. He gives you a tool for you to get rid of these things. What is that? You have to practice. The next one is bhavana, all right? Development. You have to develop your mind. How do we develop our mind? By thinking wholesome thoughts, thinking positive thoughts, thinking thoughts that help us cultivate ourselves and develop our mind. So you're already familiar with this. Isn't anything new. If you know what metta is, or the practice of metta meditation or metta bhavana, you can use that. That is wholesome thoughts. Those are constructive thoughts. That helps you cultivate and purify your mind. So you try to guard yourself from things happening as best as you can. You try to avoid unwholesome situations. Then you try to remove them, right? But you have to be aware of them. You try to remove them. How do you remove them? By thinking wholesome thoughts, by practicing metta. That's very easy. You don't have to go hide somewhere to practice metta. Under a tree or in a kuti. You can do it right now. Right now you can be listening to this speech. You can be thinking wholesome thoughts. You can be driving your car. You can be practicing metta. You can be doing your chores, right? Some people do their chores listening to music, or they do other things. You can practice metta. You can be saying in your mind, may all beings be well, happy, comfortable, and peaceful. That's bhavana. Then the last one is maintenance. That means you have to continue this process. You just can't only practice, prevention, elimination, and cultivation when the monks come to your house or when you come to the temple. That's not going to work. Your life's not going to get much better. Maintenance, anurakana. You have to practice this every day in your life, wherever you can, wherever you find space, wherever you find time, you have to put this into practice. This is right or wholesome effort. The next one is wholesome meditation. All right. So now we're getting into maybe where you do have to take some time. This is step number 7, where you might have to take some time, but you don't have to sit down, because in the Satipatthana Sutta, to practice meditation or Satipatthana, you can do it. He said laying down. The Buddha said laying down, standing up. Right. You can be standing. You can be walking. And then he gives a list of many other meditations to practice Satipatthana, right? You can think about death, you can think about a corpse, you can think about the parts of the body, you can think about sensations, you can think about thoughts, or just dhammas. So there's many different tools in there. I can't go through all of them, but there's many things accessible to you. Don't feel intimidated, or don't feel like meditation is, very particular to one thing. There's many different ways, and you can pick whichever one that fits your capability and your inclination towards it. And you don't have to sit down with your legs crossed. You can sit in a chair, you can stand up, you can walk. You can use the meditation in whatever you do. In the Satipatthana Sutta, actually the Buddha says that you can use it while you're going to the bathroom, while you're doing your business, all of that. So, it's not limited to only sitting down. And then the last one is wholesome concentration. So now here is when we start getting into like the higher levels of the meditation, right? When you heard about the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, rupa jhanas, and so on and so on. I assume that you're familiar with some of this. I don't want to bore you with this stuff because it's very philosophical. And the only thing that you have to know about these things is that if you do the other steps that I told you, you will get there eventually. You don't have to be anybody special or anything like that. You don't have to get some special knowledge from somebody. If you practice these steps, you will end up there. The Buddha said in the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, this is the direct path to liberation, to Nibbana. Right? So if you follow these steps, you will end up in the jhanas. Don't think it's something that's far away in another life, or that only monks can get into jhanas. That's not true. If you follow these steps, like as I told you, and you really practice them every day, you'll end up there. And I don't have to tell you about jhanas. You'll experience them for yourself. No one has to tell you about them. So now you have some basic understanding about the Noble Eightfold Path. I hope that you can use this as a tool. As many tools. You have many tools. You can use this as your tool belt for life. Like Batman has his utility belt. He has all these like fancy tools. You can be like Batman. You can have all these tools. And you can use it in life to help yourself. Because that's what Buddhism is about. It's about engaging with life, engaging with every moment of life, every experience, and trying to make it better, developing yourself, cultivating yourself, purifying your mind. It's not about believing things, right? You can believe all you want. You can believe until you pass out. Nothing's going to change. You can believe that someone's going to come and offer you a job in your house and bring you breakfast in bed. It's not going to happen. When you want a job, you have to go and get it. You have to do it. The same thing with the teachings of the Buddha, with the Dhamma. You have to go and get it. You have to go after Nibbana. You have to practice it. If you're not walking the path, if you're not on the Magga, if you're not practicing it, nothing's going to happen. So hopefully now, after understanding these tools that the Buddha gave us in each step, you can practice them, cultivate them, refine them, until you become an expert, you become a craftsman, you become a master of applying these tools. And with this, you'll be able to reach Nibbana, and that's what I hope for all of us here, that one day we will all be able to reach Nibbana together. And with this, I'll be concluding my talk, and Bhante will continue with the rest of the ceremony.
දැන් කල්පනා කරන්න ඒ බලාපොරොත්තු නිකම්ම බොහෝම හොඳට සම්පූර්ණ වුණා. උන්වහන්සේගේ දේශනේ හොඳයි නේද? හොඳයි ඒක තමයි. ඉතින් ඊට අවුරුදු ගානකට 2-3කට ඉස්සර වෙලා ඉතින් මහන්සිය ඇෆ්ගනිස්තානයේ තුවක්කුව තියාගෙන ඉඳලා නේද? දැන් ඉතින් කොහොමද නේද? දැන් ධර්මයේ හොඳට දැනගෙන හොඳට දේශනා කරනවා. ඊළඟට මේ කාට හරි ඉංග්‍රීසි තේරෙන්නේ නැති අය ඉන්නවනම් ඔය ස්පැනිෂ් භාෂාවෙන් මේ හඳුරු දේශනා කරනවා. ඉතින් දැන් තව ඉන්නෝ කී දෙනෙක් මහාන වෙන්න. හොඳයි එහෙනම් දැන් කල්පනා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වුණු පින්කම හොඳට සම්පූර්ණ වුණා. ඒ වික්ටර් පෙරේරා මහත්මයා පියාණන් වහන්සේ දරුවන්ගේ සීයා ලිලියන් සෙවික්‍රම මහත්මිය මේ මෑණියන් වහන්සේ ඒ වගේම දරුවන්ගේ ආච්චි අම්මා තාත්තා ඊළඟට ආයිසෙක් ඩයිනිසියස් ජයසුන්දර සෙනරත්න මහත්මයා ඒ පියාණන් වහන්සේ සීයා. එතකොට මේ මහත්මියගේ නම් කොහොමද කියන්න නම් ටික අම්මාගේ කොලෙලිවද
ගංගා මහත්මියගේ ඒ අම්මගේ අංකල්ගේ
හොඳයි. අපි ඒක මතක් කරමු. හොඳයි. එතකොට ආදරණීය පියාණන් වහන්සේ ඩී.එස්. මීරියගල්ල මහත්මයා ඒ වගේම මව අමරා මීරියගල්ල ඒ මහත්මිය නෑද දියණියක් ඕසදී මේ හැම දෙනාම මේ ළමයන්ති මහත්මිය. එතකොට මේ අජන්ත මහත්මනියත් ඒ දුවත් ඒ තමන්ගේ ආදරණීය දුව ඇතුළු ඒ පවුල් වල ඇත්තන් සිහිපත් කරනවා. ඊළඟට තවත් කිව්වනේ ගංගා මහත්මියගේ දෙමාපියන් මේ ආදි කොට ඇති හැම දෙනාම අපි මේ වෙලාවේ සිහියට අරගෙන එහෙම අපි සිහියට අරගෙන ඒ වගේ මේ ඇත්තන්ගේ නම් කියනකොට ඒ අහන්න පුළුවන් ස්ථානයක යත් ඉන්නවනම් මේ දිහා බලලා සතුටටපත් වෙනවා කියලා ධර්මයේ සඳහන් වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ඒ හැමදෙනාම මේ පින් ගන්න පුළුවන් ස්ථානයක උත්පත්තිය ලැබලා තියෙනවා නම් පින් ලබාගෙන සුවපත් වේවා. ගන්න බැරි ස්ථානයක මනුෂ්‍යාත්ම භාවයක් වෙන ස්ථානයක උත්පත්තිය ලැබලා තිබෙනවා නම් ඒ අත්තන්ට මේ පින ආශිර්වාදයක් වේවා කියන ඒ සිතිවිලි ඇති කරගෙන අවසානයේ මේ පින් වලින් නිවන් සුව ලබා ගැනීමට උපකාර වේවා කියන අදහස් හිතේ තබාගෙන පෑන් භාජනේ අල්ලගෙන පෑන් වක් කරමින් ඉස් භාජනයට අල්ලගන්න ඉන්න ළඟ ඉන්න අය හැමෝම මගේ අත ගන්න ඉන්න අය